Hello, welcome to this National Credit Union Administration webinar, Tax Time Resources for Credit Unions and Consumers. I'm Ken Worthy, Financial Literacy Program Officer with the NCUA's Office of Consumer Financial Protection. I will be your moderator for this broadcast. Before I introduce NCUA Board Member Rodney E. Hood for opening remarks and for the introduction of the IRS Commissioner, please follow along as I review the information on the slide. Please adjust the volume on your computer so that you can hear the webinar clearly. To increase the size of your slides, drag the bottom right corner of the presentation viewer. Please allow pop-ups from this site for it to function properly. Download the presentation by clicking on the PDF file under the Resource widget. Use the Ask a Question feature on the left side of your console at any time in order to ask a question. We hope to address these questions at the end of the webinar if time permits. This webinar will be closed captioned and available for on-demand viewing on ncua.gov in the coming weeks. And now I'm pleased to welcome to the broadcast NCUA Board Member, the Honorable Rodney E. Hood.
Great, thank you, Ken Worthy, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very delighted to be with you all today to talk about credit unions. Credit unions were created following the Great Depression. Under the Federal Credit Union Act, credit unions were organized for the purpose of promoting thrift among its members and creating a source of credit for provident or productive purposes, especially when it comes to serving people of modest means. I am pleased that NCUA is continuing in that tradition now, nearly a century later, through the launch of our Access Initiative. The Access Initiative, which stands for Advancing Communities Through Credit, Education, Stability, and Support, seeks to, among other things, address the financial services and financial literacy needs of underserved and diverse communities across the United States. The IRS's Earned Income Tax Credit and Volunteer Income Tax Assistance sites, which offer free tax preparation services and free electronic filing for credit union members and their families, are initiatives that help advance these access areas of focus. As part of the Access Initiative, the NCUA encourages credit unions to review whether the establishment of IRS VITA sites, which offer free tax preparation services and free electronic filing for credit union members and their families, is whether or not they may benefit their member owners. The IRS uses VITA in conjunction with increased awareness of the Earned Income Tax Credit, asset building opportunities, and financial education services to provide numerous benefits to credit unions along with their member owners. The NCUA is extremely grateful to be joined by experts from the IRS who will share more about the benefits and opportunities of these tax programs and how credit unions can participate along with their member owners in learning more. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the wonderful honor and opportunity today to welcome our distinguished guests, the Honorable Chuck Reddick, the 49th Commissioner of the IRS, who will be issuing his opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, Chuck Reddick, as Commissioner, presides over the nation's tax system, which collects more than $3.5 trillion in tax revenue each year, representing about 96% of the total gross receipts of the United States. He manages an agency of about 80,000 employees and a budget of more than $11 billion. Previously, Mr. Reddick was with a law firm where he represented thousands of individuals, businesses, and corporate taxpayers before the IRS, the Department of Justice Tax Division, federal and state courts, and state taxing authorities. He also held leadership roles in a number of professional organizations, most recently serving as Vice Chair of Administration for the American Bar Association Section of Taxation and President of the American College of Tax Counsel. He was Chair of the IRS Advisory Council, Chair of the Taxation Section of the State Bar of California, and has served on the advisory boards of both the Franchise Tax Board and the Board of Equalization in his home state of California. Mr. Reddick remains active in numerous civic and philanthropic activities, such as the Wounded Warrior Project, Advance Guard, and is the founder of the UCLA Extension Vets Count Scholarship Fund. In leading the IRS, Mr. Reddick is focused on improving service to the nation's taxpayers, balancing appropriate enforcement of the nation's tax laws while also respecting taxpayer rights. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to present to you Chuck Reddick from the IRS. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Rod. Very much appreciate the introduction. It's a humbling experience to become Commissioner of the Internal Revenue Service, and very privileged to be on this journey. It's a journey that allows us collectively with, NCUA and all the members and everybody to actually make a difference, and to make a difference for real people, most of whom will never even know that we exist. But the Internal Revenue Service in one form or another touches literally every American. And we touch more people than any other organization on the planet. Before I start, I'd like to congratulate Todd Harper for being the new board chairman of NCUA, and express, on behalf of the IRS, myself, and every employee here, our deep appreciation to all of you for everything that you do for taxpayers, but in particular for the underserved communities. When I came on board as commissioner, one of my principal goals was to ensure that the IRS honors and respects the diversity in our nation and strives to serve all taxpayers. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, and very proud to be the first commissioner who has a son or daughter, in my case a son, who's active duty United States military, who's deployed twice on behalf of our country at different places around the world. And similarly, the first commissioner whose spouse came into this country as a refugee. And those experiences, I think, allow me, as a kid born and raised in Los Angeles, to really have a better understanding of the scope of the world, but also the vulnerable communities that exist, with a real strong desire to try to make a difference. So at the IRS, we value everybody. We value the services that we're able to provide to people. We interact with a lot of people who do not have filing requirements, and some look at us as a tax collection agency or a tax administration agency. And we've sort of taken on the concept of being that we're a social administration agency because of all the people we touched. We had a real privilege during 2020 to be engaged with respect to the distribution of 2 rounds of economic impact payments. With both rounds and with individual refunds that were generated during the pandemic, we pushed almost $750 billion to individuals during the pandemic, and we're getting geared up to possibly be called upon for a 3rd round of EIPs. NCUA and your members, really strong VITA supporters. I did VITA when I was in college, and have been a strong supporter throughout my entire career, and it makes a difference. Being able to provide a VITA site to be able to get volunteers in and to help real people who don't have a lot of other places to go to say, get a tax return done, and a lot of other things that VITA sites can actually afford. So, again, my personal appreciation, as well as that from everybody, here at the Internal Revenue Service. Coming into 2020 for the first time ever, and something we're very proud about. Proud but embarrassed, but proud is that the individual income tax return will be in English and Spanish. Embarrassed that it took until 2020 for the IRS to get us there, but we launched into languages, I think significantly and big time for an agency all in 1 year. So we have income tax return in English and Spanish. There's a form there where people can check a box and indicate of 20 different languages that they would like us to communicate with them in writing. They can call into our phone lines now and get translation services in more than 350 languages. And it's an effort to show respect for people who may not be comfortable in the English language, may not be fluent in the English language, but certainly respect their filing and reporting obligations. So, when you have VITA sites up and running, you may run into more this year than maybe in years past. We do understand that in the pandemic, it's difficult to have in-person interactions, difficult, and each place is different. But a lot of the VITA sites have gone to a virtual environment with remote pickup and whatnot to try to do what they can, and we're hugely supportive of those avenues as well. So I really wanted to just jump on board here in the beginning and kind of thank everybody for what they've done in the past, and show appreciation for what we hope people can do in the future in the environment that we're all operating in right now. 2 last points with respect to tax returns and VITA is if another round of economic impact payments comes out, a lot of people are thinking that they can use one of our non-filers portals and essentially get the economic impact payment, whether or not they have a filing requirement. But if they actually file a tax return, they can get the return recovery rebate, but also they can get other credits, the EITC and the CTC, that if we put up a portal, they would not be able to get through it, non-filers. So we're really encouraging people to file returns, whether or not they have a filing requirement, and to do so electronically and to do so as quickly as possible. So that's my pitches for the agency, but my pitch for each of you is really just to say thank you. We know what you're doing. We know that you're helping us. You know, I didn't look at core IRS tax administration as just the responsibility of the IRS, but I think it's really the privilege and responsibility of everybody who can have an impact, and you have a hugely positive impact. So thank you, and I've gone over my time. I apologize for that, but thank you for including us. Thank you for including me, and carry on.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Reddick. We really are delighted that you could join us today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to turn the floor over to Ken Worthy to proceed with today's program. And again, you all, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Board Member Hood, and special thanks to the IRS Commissioner. Our program continues with Jamika Sutton, Director of the Division of Consumer Affairs within the Office of Consumer Financial Protection. The Director will highlight the important role of credit unions participating in or increasing the awareness of programs such as the VITA Program and the Earned Income Tax Credit. The Director will also briefly share the resources available through the NCUA to help support credit union efforts. After her remarks, we will hear from another special guest from the Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Roland Tate, a senior tax analyst, who will give credit unions and consumers detailed information about these two IRS programs, including how to participate, where to access additional information, and other important details. And then after Mr. Tate, we hope to take some of your questions. A quick reminder that the views and opinions expressed during this broadcast are those of the presenters and do not reflect the official views of, nor should be considered an endorsement by, the National Credit Union Administration's Board of Directors, its management, or staff. Now over to Director Sutton.
Hello, everyone, and a special thank you to Board Member Hood and IRS Commissioner Reddick for your opening remarks. Also, thanks to all who joined this webinar, and to our guest, Mr. Roland Tate from the IRS, for speaking about these important programs and initiatives. Tax season is in full gear, and consumers all over the country are gathering financial records so that they may file their tax returns. This tax season is very different than previous tax seasons, as the coronavirus pandemic has taken its toll on many communities across the country. A recent Pew Research Center poll indicates that 74% of Americans feel the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting their everyday lives. A similar Pew study indicates that more than 2/3 of those surveyed in the United States fear their lives have changed due to COVID-19. We know many individuals and households across the country are looking for ways to support their current financial situations. The IRS programs we plan to discuss on this broadcast may help with some of these urgent financial needs. While many households are focused on staying safe and maintaining stability during these trying times, we know that credit unions are prepared to assist. And as tax time approaches, there are some additional ways for credit unions to further reduce some of the angst and perhaps some of the costs that comes with preparing and filing taxes, especially for low and moderate income consumers. Increasing awareness of the Earned Income Tax Credit and the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program can help credit unions, member owners, and communities they serve with opportunities to have more household income available for other critical needs. According to the IRS, the Earned Income Tax Credit helps low to moderate income workers and families receive a tax break. In addition, claiming the credit can reduce the taxes consumers may owe and also give consumers a larger refund. The Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program offers free tax help to individuals who generally make $57,000 or less, persons with disabilities, the elderly, and limited English-speaking taxpayers who need assistance in preparing their own tax returns. According to NCUA Call Report and Credit Union Online Profile data, over 160 credit unions offer no-cost tax preparation services, such as the IRS VITA Program. These credit unions have a membership universe of approximately 9.2 million member owners and hold roughly $137 billion in assets. Additionally, approximately 2,000 credit unions provide financial counseling to help individuals make the best use of their financial assets. We, in the Office of Consumer Financial Protection, encourage all credit unions that offer these VITA programs to please report it through Credit Union Online Profile. The NCUA also encourages credit unions to consider offering the VITA program and help to increase awareness of the Earned Income Tax Credit to their members and community served. Also, we are here to help support the creation or expansion of these type of programs and initiatives among credit unions nationwide. The Office of Consumer Financial Protection stands ready to help your credit union with identifying resources, information, or helpful contacts if you are interested in offering such programs. This webinar should give you a solid understanding of how to get started on the path to offering free tax preparation services. As I mentioned, there are many benefits to offering programs to members that involve financial literacy and economic inclusion opportunities. The IRS will highlight more of these benefits in a few moments. Before I hand it back over to Ken, I briefly want to remind everyone that the NCUA provides financial literacy and consumer financial protection information on mycreditunion.gov. As you see here, the information includes Earned Income Tax Credit awareness and other important financial literacy topics. We also have social media outreach with helpful information and tips on personal finance topics that credit unions can easily offer their members. As your credit union increases awareness and expands these programs, please be sure to visit mycreditunion.gov and the IRS resources, which we will discuss in a moment. Finally, we encourage credit unions to reach out to the Office of Consumer Financial Protection and the Division of Consumer Affairs if you have questions about financial literacy and economic inclusion programs and initiatives. We want to hear from you on what you're doing and how we can help. Ken, back over to you.
Thank you, Director. A reminder to the audience, if you have questions for us, please be sure to type them into the Ask a Question feature on the console window, and we hope to get to them towards the end of the broadcast. So please be sure to put your questions in now. And as we get ready for our next special guest, we will now hear from Mr. Roland Tate, a senior tax analyst with the Internal Revenue Service, to share some more details about these IRS programs and the IRS resources that we mentioned, including what is available to credit unions, their members, and consumers nationwide. Mr. Tate?
Thank you, Ken. To Commissioner Reddick, thank you for joining us, sir. Board Member Hood, thank you for this opportunity. Jamika Sutton, thank you. And to everyone who's on this webinar, thank you for this opportunity to talk about some of the programs that Jamika had mentioned earlier. As mentioned, my name is Roland Tate. I am a senior tax analyst in our Stakeholder Partnership Education Division of the Internal Revenue Service. And I will talk about initially the Earned Income Tax Credit, EITC. You know, we have a lot of acronyms. It was established in 1975. It's the largest federal government anti-poverty program, and it assists working families and individuals. The credit in 2019, 25 million eligible workers and families received nearly $63 billion in this credit. EITC, Earned Income Tax Credit, it's a refundable credit. And there are a couple of credits. We're not going to get too deep in the weeds. There are some credits that will just bring your tax liability to zero, whereas the EITC, Earned Income Tax Credit, is refundable. And what that literally means is that it could become a dollar-for-dollar credit. For this year, just giving an example, if a working family had a certain income and it's a bell shape, so it really rewards you for working, you could get up to, for 2 children, $5,600 on top of other credits that you may have plus your withholding. So you can literally, it could be $6,000, $7,000 easily. And if there are 3 children, it could be up to $6,300. So they're just telling you that this one-time moment with filing that tax return with the earned income tax credit could be significant. Now, the average EITC payment is roughly $2,400. And I want you to keep that number in mind as we look at the free income tax program. Okay? So now the next thing I want to talk about is the low-income returns. Low-income returns, and this data was provided by the Compliance Data Warehouse. So it's estimated that there's 97 million taxpayers with adjusted gross income of $56,000 or less. 97 million, and that's not considering cost of living. You take some cities where the cost of living is more. $56,000 is where they're considered low income. Out of those 97 million individuals, 53 million of them prepared their own income tax return, which is fine. That's good. 53 million prepared their own return. You know, that's good. 42 million, they paid for assistance. So that's 44% paid someone. And we partner, the IRS, we partner with paid practitioners, so we don't have a problem with them. But when you're considering individuals who are making $56,000 or less, and 44% of them, 42 million, are paying someone, and then you have the earned income tax credit, a lot of those funds are going for professional preparation fees. Now, the next number is where we can all join in, and we need to try to increase 2 million out of 97 million took advantage of the free tax programs. So I'm going to say that again. Out of 97 million low-income taxpayers, based on our data, 2 million took advantage of the free services. And so between the 42 million and the 2 million, that number is where we could really make a difference. Now, how do we do that? Let's talk about the VITA program. The VITA program is the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, and I think it has been referenced earlier. If we look at the returns prepared, there were 3 million returns prepared. Now, the previous slide showed that there were 2 million for the low income. Now, some VITA returns, there are people who are earning more than the 56 million. They're taking advantage of the program, which, you know, we don't have a problem with. We would like to assist those who really need the help, but other people are coming in to get the assistance. So if we look at 3 million, 3.5 million, and roughly around 2 plus are in that sweet spot, there's plenty room where we can increase, we can help more people. Direct deposit, we're at about 66% of those individuals who come to the VITA program, they are taking advantage. They do have a checking or savings account. What that means is that about 33%, we're not saying they are unbanked, but for whatever reason, they did not have their tax returns direct deposited. And with the credit union, there's an opportunity there for credit repairs, figuring out budget and home ownership. One of the things we have at our VITA sites we'll talk about later It's an opportunity for financial education and asset building. Now, the average adjusted gross income at our VITA sites, or our free tax assistance sites, are $27,000. $56,000 is the low income number. $27,000 average VITA. So a lot of those people, what we talked about earlier, 44% of them are paying someone. So in VITA, if we can just drive some of that traffic to our VITA sites, the average earned income credit is $1,318. Well, we talked about the national earned average for the earned income credit was $2,500. So again, those individuals who are going other places, it's more of them are going that are really coming to our VITA sites. And we do understand that some people, they need the money immediately, but if you have a checking account, the refund can be directly deposited, and generally it's roughly around 10 days you will have that refund in your account. So there's money that could be saved. And the average refund is about $1,200. That's for our VITA program. So now let's talk about the VITA program, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. We have several ways you can volunteer or you can get involved. We have the traditional sites. Now with the pandemic this year, and we're social distancing, and we're not driving individuals into the VITA sites as we've done in the past. Well, we have other methods, alternative filing methods, facilitated self-assistance. That method means that an individual could prepare their own return with a coach available. So that means that the IRS will provide the software. An individual could come into a credit union, to a nonprofit organization, access that URL, which we will provide for free. All of this is free. And what we will ask is that the organization have at least one person VITA certified to assist if necessary. Another way you can participate is the remote self-help. And remote self-help means that we could give you a URL, and you could put that URL on your intranet, whereas only your members could access it. They access the URL, and once they access the URL, again, you have someone who would be available to assist if necessary. And again, these methods will allow individuals to prepare their own returns for free with assistance without going into a VITA center where they can feel safe. We also partner with our free file. We have about 4 free file partners which will allow you to put their URL on your intranet where everyone could access it. Excuse me. But again, you would need to have someone there as a resource to assist if necessary. And then there's our virtual program. Excuse me. The virtual program, it's literally two partners, two organizations are working together, whereas one organization could be an intake location and the other one could be a preparation location. Intake, it means exactly what it sounds. The returns and everything is provided at the W-2s and the 1099s and the documents are input at one location, securely uploaded to another location, and those volunteers at that other location will prepare the return, and then they would securely send it back to the taxpayer. I mean, there are other things involved in that, but that's in essence how it would work. Again, This would allow free assistance without going into local offices. And then the next thing, at our VITA sites, as I mentioned earlier, financial education and asset building opportunities. When we talked about the refunds, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, many times this is the most money that a person will have at one time. And so what do you do with it? I think there's a misnomer that's saying that when people get large refunds, they go out and buy tennis shoes and TVs. I don't think that's really the case. A lot of people, when they get large refunds, they're paying bills. They need a transmission. They're trying to have money to go to work. They're paying off medical bills. And a lot of this, if there was some type of budgeting before the refund, if the refund was not spent before, and as I mentioned earlier, they're not spending it just on just anything. A lot of people are using this money to live day to day. This is an opportunity for credit unions, those people who understand crediting, who understand budgeting, who understand how to save. This is an opportunity to speak with those individuals while they have that money. And that's an opportunity there. Tax time is one of the greatest opportunities. And I've been talking about the VITA program, but we also have the tax counseling for the elderly. And those that program, it will prepare a VITA type return, but a lot of those programs and returns are catered towards our seniors, a lot of retirement, some rental income, that type of thing. So Ken, I'm done, but if you're interested in participating in the VITA program, contact your local, and I put SPEC, that's the Stakeholder Partnership Education Communication Manager, or you can contact me, contact Ken, he knows how to reach me. And you could, if you can allow your employees to participate or to become certified, if you want to set up an opportunity where your counselors can go to a VITA site, we can arrange that as well. And I'm done, sir. Thank you for this opportunity, and I think I'm turning back over to Ken.
Thank you, sir. What an incredibly informative presentation, and we are hopeful that this is helpful to credit unions and to consumers and their member owners, and we thank you very much, sir, for that. Now we'll go ahead and transition to the question and answer portion of this program. We ask that all of you listening right now, you must have questions about the programs, maybe how to join, any follow-ups to all the great information we presented. Please go ahead and type in your question into the Ask a Question feature on the console that you're viewing this broadcast on. I'll start off with some of the questions we have in already. First question is for Mr. Tate about consumers. The question is, if a consumer is interested in finding a VITA site or center, is there a location or somewhere for them to be able to online find a location near them?
Yes, sir. If you want to locate the nearest VITA site, you can go to the irs.gov, and we have a VITA Locator, and it would ask you to put in your zip code, and you would put the zip code in, and it would list the sites in a certain radius.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Mm-hmm. And also a reminder to those consumers or to other organizations listening that are not credit unions, we have a feature on mycreditunion.gov where you can locate credit unions in your community. So that's a great way to connect credit unions with this VITA program, and if you want to work and develop a partnership between your credit union, the community organization, and the IRS. So a great site is mycreditunion.gov as well. The next question, what does SPEC EC stand for? So SPEC for
Yes,
your division, sir.
Yes, I mentioned that a couple of times. It's stakeholder partnership, education, and communications. We work with the wage investment division, and so the IRS we have 4 different operating divisions, and SPEC, stakeholder partnership and education, is the one what serves the community, the taxpayers, the everyday. It's not the business. So that's when I say SPEC, that's what that means. I hope that's clear enough.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And we're getting a couple questions in on understanding a little bit more about what it actually takes to become VITA certified. We've got a couple of questions
Sure.
around that. Do you mind walking us through, from beginning to end, what a credit union would have to do in order to become certified?
Okay, now the individual would become certified. The credit union would be a site. You would take a certification test. All our VITA volunteers are certified, meaning that they have basic certification or they have advanced certification. We also offer military certification, international certification for overseas military. But what we would do here, you would certify. It's an open book test. And I'm often asked, how long does it take? Well, it depends on your knowledge. I could take the certification maybe in an hour or so because I've been volunteering forever. Someone without a tax background, it may take, I would say, 2 hours, 3 hours, but it's open book. It's done on a computer. It's saved. You can do a little bit, come back, do a little bit more, and come back. So that's, I'm going to say it's easy, but I don't think it's that difficult. It's open book.
So it ranges basically, sorry, I just was going to say it ranges basically on the expertise of the individual, depending how much maybe tax knowledge or personal finance knowledge they have. It might take them longer to take the test versus someone else.
Right, but I also want to say this, it's not just for the people with financial background. We have volunteers who are students. We have volunteers who are bus drivers, volunteers who are homemakers. They don't necessarily have to have a tax background. It's just if you want to help someone, if you ever prepare your own tax return, or you want to learn how to prepare your own tax return, VITA would be for you. Now, as far as the site location, we would ask you to, of course, prefer it's convenient for people to have parking. Everything is done via computer, so we will ask you to have computers and a lot of space so we can have privacy. And as I mentioned earlier, because of the pandemic, we have a lot of sites where you don't even have to go into locations. You can just be available to assist via chat, what we're doing via Zoom, just be available to assist after you have your certification.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And we also have some questions related to the costs. You mentioned that a lot of it is free, and it sounds like some of the cost is limited to perhaps volunteers or staff of the credit union and setting that equipment up and whatnot. Could you walk us through what costs a credit union might expect?
Well, I can tell you what the cost is not involved. We would give you software. Now, if you need paper, if you need office supplies, there's a VITA grant which you could apply, and the VITA grant based on your needs and where you rank, and there's a possibility that those supplies could also be taken care of. But the main the main cost would be the software, which we give free. There isn't a charge to give you the software. There isn't a charge for the end user to use the software. As far as computers, if you have those in your already in the office, it's a URL. It's not anything that you have to download. So you don't have to go and clean the hard drive at the end of the filing season. We will provide a URL on the system, and then whatever office cost that could occur.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like we have about because we started a little late, so we've got 2 more minutes. If you can hang on with us here, Mr. Tate, for 2 minutes.
Sure.
So we've got 1 or 2 other questions for
mm-hmm.
you. A reminder, folks, if you want to ask a question, now's the last opportunity. So go ahead and type the questions in. Questions about some of the information that folks submit through the tax process. If there's an error or something like that, is there anything you can share with us with regard to what are the implications to the center? Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Now with VITA, our accuracy rate, we're 98 plus, 97. I'm proud to say that. Now that's not 100%. I get that, but we're not 45. We're not 60%. We're in the high 90s. If there is an error, it's like any other tax return. It's the taxpayer is responsible for it in those things. Rarely is there a math error because it's done electronically. Our volunteers are stated they are certified. The returns, when they're completed, they go through a quality review. I almost said a QR. It goes through a quality review process. And what that means is that I will prepare the return, and my manager, Dan, is in the VITA site. He would review it before it's transmitted. So when I prepare the return, I would go over it with you, Ken, say, Ken, this is what I come up with. This is what we have. And then I would say, now what I'm about to do, Ken, I'm going to take you and my manager going to sit down together, and you're going to go over what I've done. So we put 2 eyes on it. And of course, we're not at 100%, but we're high 90s. And if something does happen, generally it has to do with maybe a W-2 was not submitted properly, or someone did not provide all their documentation. And if that happens, the taxpayer is responsible for that return.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
One other question for you, Mr. Tate, and then we'll go over to
Sure.
the Director Sutton for a question we have about NCUA resources. So what the first step, what is the first step a credit union should take if they want to become a VITA site?
The first step, I would say, is contact the local IRS in that area. And if they don't know who that person is, reach out to you, Ken, or reach out to me, and then I will get you in contact with the local, this word again, SPEC office. And then that person will speak with you about the options, whether or not you're face-to-face, whether or not you're going to be a self-help. They will be responsible in letting you know the different types of programs which are available.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering the questions and providing this wealth of information to all of our listeners. And now we have a quick question for Director Sutton, a question about NCUA resources. Are there any charges to use NCUA's financial literacy resources?
Thank you, Ken. So to answer that question, no, there are not any charges related to using any of our resources. And if I can, I'd like to go ahead and direct all of our listeners to mycreditunion.gov. We have a site full of information about the Earned Income Tax Credit. We have frequently asked questions about how do you qualify for it, how do you claim it, disability in the Earned Income Tax Credit, and even information about the awareness. So please go to our website, and our resources are always free of charge.
Wonderful. Thank you, Director. And with that, that concludes the question and answer portion of our program. And we'll go back over to you, Director Sutton, for closing remarks.
Thanks, Ken. Once again, thank you to everyone watching, and a special thanks to our guest speakers. We hope that you found this information helpful and informative. A quick reminder, this week is also America Saves Week, and we encourage credit unions and their members to check out mycreditunion.gov for resources and information, and spread the word about the importance of consumers building emergency savings and getting into a regular savings habit. Also, next week, February 28th through March 6th, is National Consumer Protection Week. So it is another great opportunity to share the financial literacy and consumer financial protection resources on mycreditunion.gov. Please contact NCUA's Office of Consumer Financial Protection with any additional questions, comments, or concerns. Also, be sure to visit mycreditunion.gov to access and provide your members with NCUA's financial literacy resources.
Thank you to all for joining us today. This concludes this webinar and this broadcast. It will be closed captioned and available for on-demand viewing on ncua.gov in the coming weeks. Thank you for tuning in. This concludes this broadcast.